Kicking off at number 5, SCP-2317, and I'm sure you'll all appreciate this fact, but this video is going to have a lot of jumbled numbers throughout because you know that's how catalog systems work, right? Well, let me introduce you to SCP-2317, which is the perfect way to demonstrate the levels of secrecy that the SCP Foundation operates. So much so that depending on what level of security clearance you have, the more you'll know about 2317, and the more you'll realize how absolutely screwed we'd all be if it ever got out. Essentially, SCP-2317 is a locked wooden door that leads to an alternate reality. Inside that reality is a demonic, anomalous entity that swallows planets whole, yet is supposedly locked away by 7 bones of another of its own species, binding it in a ritual that by all accounts will prevent the end of all existence. The thing is though, 6 of those bones are broken, and now there's only 1 of those bones preventing it from escaping. The Foundation goes to great lengths to fabricate a ritual which involves human sacrifice, which it tells its lower ranking staff will prevent said end of the world. Spoilers though, it doesn't, and all it does is serve as a way to mentally distract everyone from the inevitable end of all life. Whew, heavy stuff. Coming in at number 4, SCP-2399. Now, it's important to note that there's a slim chance that SCP-2399 won't be a world-ending catastrophe after all, and its intentions are to simply land on Earth and usher in a new age of technological prosperity. But really guys, would we ever want to take that risk? Because I wouldn't. In short, SCP-2399 is a massive alien continent-sized complex mechanical structure that was on course for Earth before it was caught in the gravity of Jupiter's moon of Io, causing it to become stranded on the gas giant, automatically activating its self-defense protocols, resulting in what is now known by astronomers as the Great Red Spot. Now, SCP-2399 constantly dispenses fleets of small drones that slowly repair it, and as far as the latest update goes, it's nearly ready for completion. The thing is, it's encased in an indestructible force field that the Foundation currently has no way of even denting or even scanning to figure out what the hell is going on underneath there. Their latest plan was known as Protocol Legionnaire, which essentially was firing a volley of nuclear warheads enough to wipe out civilization 1,000 times over. And guess what? Not even a dent. Whatever's under there has got the Foundation spooked and in all likelihood will result in the end of the world as we know it. Hey, that's a song, right? Next up at number 3, SCP-3003. If any of you have a fear of the uncanny, then this one's for you, because if the thought of being parasitically overthrown by a sentient alien bug sends shivers down your spine, then let me introduce you to SCP-3003, otherwise known as the end of history. Essentially, 3003 is an Earth-sized planet 208 light years away from our Earth, but aside from distance, is near identical to our own. However, it possesses a population of over 30 billion and is exponentially more technologically advanced than our civilization, down to one small but significant difference. SCP-3003 is controlled by a beetle-like organism that parasitizes human life and wants to bring Earth under its influence. Because of its ability to enslave human life under its hive mind, the planet of SCP-3003 has become highly advanced and is nearly at the point of becoming an interstellar civilization, where it will arrive on Earth and infect us all with its mind-controlling amoeba-like organisms. The thing is though guys, the 30 billion humanoids already under its control are possibly the happiest people in the universe. They're healthy, they're happy, they don't partake in violent behaviour and abstain from military conflict. They have a resistance to pain and diseases and are genetically engineered to be the best spacefaring species that they can be. But they also lack all semblance of free will and self-determination, so get the hell away from my brain, you damn alien bug. Swinging in at number 2, SCP-3007. Whew, this one's a doozy. And SCP-3007 is what is known in the Foundation as an info hazard, a key to class info hazard, which in other words means it's really bad. An info hazard by nature wants to be spread via knowledge and awareness, and as we all know, you can't kill an idea. Essentially, 3007 is a simultaneous dream that people have, which exhibits them walking through a strange world, not unlike our own. If they're injured in that world, they're injured in real life. If they die, they die. And there's an entity imprisoned within it that wants nothing more than to bleed out into our world to do the same. it's known as the Red. Now, there's a lot to this skip, and the canon surrounding it is very, very intricate, but essentially the Red is an anomalous entity that attached itself to a highly advanced alien civilization that had reached space exploration and stumbled upon it. Over hundreds of years, it used this unfortunate civilization as its plaything, twisting and contorting them into monstrosities and warping their world for its own sadistic pleasure. And guess what? It wants to do exactly the same to our world and is slowly luring people to its awareness through the power of dreams. Currently, the only way to contain this spread is to terminate all people who become aware of the info hazard, and as far as plans concerned, there is none. Oops. And finally, at our number 1 spot, SCP-001 SDL. Alright, as far as fiction goes, SCP-001 When Day Breaks is one of the most masterful and horrifying stories told throughout the entire Foundation, and it's a testament to exactly what the SCP multiverse can produce. Now, there's no clear definition on what SCP-001 is, and instead there are over 30 different proposals which keep the whole thing ambiguous. One of those proposals is SDL, or When Day Breaks, and it gives a whole new meaning to Don't Go Into the Light. Essentially, SDL is an extinction level event where the sun has turned everyone on Earth into an amorphous goo, which still retains its sentience and essentially reduces Earth's population to malevolent flesh zombies. What is left is a bleak, inhospitable world for its survivors, people on the edge of existence, roaming the wasteland, trying to stay in the shadows and avoid the roaming hordes of melted flesh zombies. What makes it worse though is that the amorphous goo has a tendency to combine into each other, meaning that a large bulk of the 7 billion people on the planet have become burbling, breathing masses of sentient, fleshy goo, and they want you to join them to step out into the light and be melted by the sun. Whew. I'd take regular zombies any day. Kicking off at number 5, SCP-2700. And really, this should be at the top of our list in terms of calamity, but we recently covered it in our cursed SCP items list, so no, get to the back of the line, SCP-2700. As we said in our other list, stock for stock, this item is potentially the most devastatingly powerful item in the entirety of the SCP Foundation's arsenal. As the record states, SCP-2700 is a complex mechanical device believed to be a vessel of sophisticated directed energy. The device itself consists of 3 components: the interface, the accelerator, and the core, and it was developed by the legendary Serbian physicist and renowned inventor Nikola Tesla. Yes, exactly, the Nikola Tesla. On the surface, the Foundation portrays this ingenious object as merely a miraculous relic left over from the legendary inventor's legacy. But as is the same with many things in the SCP Foundation, all is not as it may seem. To boil it down, SCP-2700 is a weapon of such immensely insane power that a single firing wouldn't just destroy all life on planet Earth, it would destroy all life in the universe. Well, I say destroy in the most tentative term because a better word would be reset. SCP-2700 behaves inversely regards to entropy, and if you fire this weapon, it would cause a chain reaction that essentially causes a reverse Big Bang. Maybe the universe would completely reset itself, maybe it wouldn't. I don't really want to find out. Do you? Coming in at number 4, SCP-990. And I love this skip because SCP-990 reminds me of both the Observer from Fringe and the conspiracy suits from the X-Files, except this guy is a little more forthcoming with his mysterious intentions. SCP-990 is one of the few items in their canon that the Foundation isn't entirely sure whether he's trying to help humanity or destroys all entirely. Currently, there is no known containment procedure for SCP-990 for one simple reason: he only appears in dreams. Essentially, he's a much more stylish Freddy Krueger. Sorry Freddy, just with less claws and even less plastic reality. As the record states, SCP-990 generally appears as a human male dressed in a Cold War era business suit who appears to Foundation personnel through the power of dreams. So far, no members of the Foundation have encountered this guy in the real world, and if he corresponds to an actual physical human being, then he's yet to be found. Essentially, 990 appears with the intention to warn people of disastrous events, and anything that he warns of inevitably comes true. Now, the Foundation aren't sure whether he's actually causing these events or just being a good dream Samaritan, but his most startling revelation is the end of the world, and his warning is focused on a yet to be revealed SCP. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. Next up at number 3, SCP-001 When Day Breaks. Now this is an interesting one because if you know anything about the SCP Foundation, you'll know that their first entry in their archives, SCP-001, is ambiguous in its origin and is made up of over 20 different entries, all of which may or not be the real SCP-001. Sound a bit confusing? Well, essentially SCP-001 is brimming with potential red herrings to keep the Foundation's motivations and goals a secret. One of these is SCP-001 SD Locke's proposal, also known as When Day Breaks, and if it is a genuine entry, then we're all kind of screwed. In the worst possible way. As the record states, When Day Breaks is an Apollyon class object that due to its nature cannot be contained. It is the designation given to our sun after an undisclosed event resulted in over 6.8 billion casualties with the first 24 hours. 001 is the exposure to ultraviolet rays that upon contact liquefy living organisms, with the effect spreading until the entire organism is converted, visually being similar to melting wax. Essentially, if you step out into the sunlight during the events of 001, you turn into a gelatinous mass, and inevitably when you make contact with another biological organism, you combine and blend at molecular level. Picture our world right now, but everything is made out of wax. I mean, everything. Then turn the heat up really high, and then everything wants to kill you. That's what SCP-001 will look like, and it's not pretty. Swinging in at number 2, SCP-2935. And conceptually, this is one of my favourite SCPs in the whole Foundation, although it's also perhaps the most bleak, so go figure. As the record states, SCP-2935 is a space-time anomaly that exists within a limestone cave beneath a cemetery near Joppa, Indiana. The anomaly in question is a nearly exact replicate reality of modern Earth in the year 2016, with one quite significant difference. All life, both biological and non-biological, as well as any sentient entities, machines, computers, and other lifelike phenomena, ended on April 20th, 2016. All life forms within 2935 suddenly and without warning expired sometime between the hours of 3 AM and 4 AM Eastern Time, the reason for which is currently uncertain. When I say all life, I mean all life. Even the alternate reality version of SCP-682, as in the hard to destroy reptile who can withstand any destructive effect, even he died. As it turns out though, there is a little bit more to this story, and it appears that the events of SCP-2935 happened after an SCP agent known as Keller entered this Earth from an alternative reality, but unbeknownst to him was himself an anomalous entity that when exposed to another version of reality brings about the end of all life. As SCP-2935 explains, Keller was caught in a time loop, and every other version of himself was destined to enter the same space-time anomaly at some point. To stop this, he nuked himself as well as the mobile task force accompanying him to bring an end to the time loop and stop the same effects spreading to our version of reality. What a hero. And thankfully the Foundation filled the hole with cement and just tried to forget about the whole thing.
Coming in at number 5, we've got SCP-1548. Quick, name some enormous things. Elephants, office buildings, Mount Everest. Now these are all good guesses. Yeah, they're big, but here's the deal. Pretty much everything on this list is going to dwarf something you could conceivably behold on Earth. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those. 1548 is known as the Hateful Star. Stars, as you might already know, are huge. Like our sun is one of the smaller varieties going around. Try to wrap your head around that for a moment. In fact, this star is more than just a star, it's multiple solar phenomena. There's SCP-1548-1, which is a series of sunspots, each 40,000 by 15,000 kilometers in size. About 23 hours after they appear, they converge, becoming one enormous solar prominence, taking the shape of thaumaturgic symbols. Then there are 1548-2 and 3, which are sunspots and symbols that form under different circumstances, but are usually pretty huge too. These occurrences cause a whole lot of insane stuff to happen, from inflicting intense psychological damage on people who behold them, to strengthening materials, to causing weapons affected by the symbol to annihilate stuff around their areas of effect. In fact, a recent event has caused irreversible changes to our solar system. A rapid recurrence of 1548-1 events has led to a dense cloud of ionizing radiation to form around our solar system, totally changing the night sky. The Foundation has started to disseminate information to keep the public calm, but the effects of this change in the sky have started to be noticed. Folks who witness certain things in the night sky have had their minds altered by the malice 1548 seems to emit, and powerful weapons have leveled large areas. There's something in there about a subset of folks known as Orthothans who seem to be waging some kind of war. The O5 Council has been voting on what to do for a while now, but I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen next, so wish you the best of luck. Coming in number 4, we've got SCP-3125. Now, if you want to read this one, you've got to know the code to get in. That's right, it's locked behind a keypad, and only those with a secret password are getting in. How do I know the password? Well, I'm special. You're not, but I'll give you a hint anyway. How many flavors in a standard roll of Lifesavers? How many guys at the burger joint that fries their fries in peanut oil? What's 7 minus 2? What's the smallest dollar bill in Canada? A number that rhymes with alive. Use that as you will. I've got plausible deniability if you guys break into the number pad without being allowed to be there. Enter at your own risk. This SCP is quite a mind boink, described as an extremely large, highly aggressive, metastasized meme complex. It started outside our reality and now it's right up in it. I always knew the rising popularity of memes would be the death of us all. It's adapted for survival in much harsher conditions than we can provide, and therefore humans don't really have any sort of defense against 3125. When someone's affected by it, they become incapable of entertaining weaker ideas. Their whole being is then devoted to the propagation of 3125. So this thing can spread fast through the ideas of our weaker minds. And just like propaganda, you're not immune to it. Nope, not even you. No, you're not special. As of right now, it's not entirely present in our reality. If it ever managed to manifest completely, the knowledge of it would spread throughout the world very quickly, likely ending anybody's ability to do anything about it in less than 12 hours. Even now, folks who learn about it end up dead very quickly. The worst part is, most folks who are infected, and therefore are infectious, don't really know it, or they can't conceive of knowing it. Once 3125 makes its way into someone's mind, they forget about it and they don't even notice it. It uses some sort of brain-altering thing to make sure that nobody's aware of it. The way the Foundation describes it is like the stuff mosquitoes use to prevent you from noticing that they're sucking your blood. But instead of your blood, they're like taking over your brain, and it's not itchy, it's just gonna kill you. Right now, there's no real way to fight it. A scientist suggested creating an irreality amplifier, but that would require the folks building it to understand what they were building, and then they would have to know about the meme, and then they'd get infected by it. So let's just hope that the Foundation keeps it in check indefinitely, because if this gigantic mass of memetic information makes its way into our reality, we're toast. Coming in at number 3, we've got SCP-1682. Sunworms! Hell yeah, I feel like that's good enough of a description. I don't need to say anything else, just sunworms. Okay, I guess I should explain the whole thing. See, these are large, segmented, worm-like entities that exist in the sun. The good folks over at the Foundation have estimated that the one that we've designated 1682 is over 28,000 kilometers long. It appears to dive and loop for long periods of time, often roaming the surface of the photosphere for 3 to 4 months before diving down and disappearing for 4 to 8 months. The people investigating it believed it to be a permanent fixture at that point, but one day it up and fired its way across the galaxy. It emerged from the photosphere at a speed of 1045.5 kilometers per second and was last sighted passing Pluto. Now, get this. Some folks are calling it a solar tapeworm. That's right, it lives in the bowels of the sun until it's sapped enough energy and then heads off on its merry way. It's an image I didn't need. Coming in at number 2, we've got SCP-2859. This one literally mirrors an entire quadrant of the solar system, so if that's not big, I don't know what to tell you. Try not to feel too dwarfed in its shadow, you know, we're all tiny specks of insignificant nothing if you really think about it. So isn't that a little bit comforting? No? Not to you? Okay, well, on with the explanation anyway. It will manifest in enclosed, unused space, eventually breaching the object encapsulating it. Expeditions inside have shown that celestial objects do indeed exist within it in the precise locations that they would be otherwise. It also tends to pull anything that makes contact with its threshold in. Otherwise, it doesn't really affect the area around it, it just kind of is there. It's weird and potentially micro-radiation inducing, but not terrible in of itself. But there is a giant species of giant serpentine predators around 80,000 kilometers in length that do seem to follow this anomaly wherever it goes. And anything that it pulls in, they will consume. So that's not good. Instances of 2859 have been spotted dangerously close to Earth too, so you better keep an eye out. And finally at number 1, we've got SCP-3200. Get this, we've made some claims about enormous stuff in this video, but this SCP is literally light years in diameter. 300 million light years to be precise. That is a big anomaly. It's expanding by about 1 million light years per year too. This void could potentially collapse the universe. That's how huge it is. If it were 2009, it would be a great source for run-ups to Yo Mama jokes. However, because we've moved past that as a society, I'll avoid stooping that low. Suffice it to say, this is one gigantic SCP. The exact properties of this thing are currently unknown too. It was discovered by civilian scientists, and the folks who investigated it most closely ran into some issues. The Peregrine expedition took some experimental tech and ran with it, hoping to find something useful within the SCP-3200 void. Taking advantage of temporal sinks, the crew was able to travel into the heart of the anomaly in a relatively short period of time. They arrived in the void and saw nothing but blackness. No stars, no galaxies, true void action. Eventually, a box showed up, surprising the crew. Inside was a CD containing a video of the captain talking to camera. He claimed they'd been trying to slow the anomaly's growth to little success, which disturbed the crew. Over time, reality began to act different, and even more different than they expected going in. They also managed to amass quite the collection of footage of the captain speaking about the anomaly. None of these elaborated on what the anomaly was actually doing though. Eventually, tragically, they got to the source of the matter. After witnessing thousands of different iterations of himself investigate the void over a period of what could be thousands of years, it became clear to the captain that space-time was torn and had been rending itself apart. The things they've seen are echoes of different timelines, produced, consumed, and repurposed by the Abyss. There's no way to fix it, although each iteration of the crew does their best. It's growing larger, consuming more, and yet there is nothing we can do about it. In the last words of Captain Kuznetsov, we've seen into the abyss, and by God, it hates us.